Mexico. We made it. So we're all kind of squished over here because we really love each other and we couldn't bear being far apart from each other. So I would love it if you guys would come up and join us, and we're gonna play some tunes for you. This next song is from a new album that I just came out with called The Lost Frontier, and yeah, it's called The Lost Frontier. any water out there? Thanks, Shindo.
Sure. I love you.
Coming through. I love you too. I love a lot of you guys. I mean, I love all of you, but I feel like I know at least half of you. It's so nice to have a big family reunion here. I brought my dad here. This is his first festival. Can you believe that? So, you know, go say hi to him, introduce yourself, and let's see. What do you guys want? What do you want to play? Can you turn my guitar down a little bit? Still pretty hot. This is the sound of one heart starting to hear. This is the sound of faith stepping out of fear. Oh, the journey of one soul's passage through time. And oh, this is one lone dreamer learning to fly. And this is the sound of love reaching out from the storm. Starting to burn, and beyond is shining in everything I do, and I hear you. To you. On its way to the sun, calling all the children together as one. I can see us there, see it clear as the blue. And oh, this is one small part. Here is my gift to you, and your is shining in everything I do, and I hear see no, hear no, speak no sound on this golden flood. Thanks, everyone. All right, I'm going to bring up my very, very dear friend, Mr. Altore. Hey, he even brought me a guitar. He's such a good friend.
Get it up.
Yeah, we've been playing it for a long, long time, so it's really special to be here today, playing this together. How you doing back there, Taurus? tonight, yo, we know. Wanna hear night, night, yo, any high with tonight, yo, we know. Wanna hear night, night, yo, any high with tonight, yo, we know. Wanna hear night, night, yo, any high with tonight, yo, we know. Wanna hear night, night, yo, any high with tonight, yo, we know. Wanna hear night, night, yo, any high with tonight, yo, we know. Wanna hear night, night, yo, any high with tonight, yo, we know. Wanna hear night, night, yo, any high with tonight, yo, we know.
I wish you could see what we're seeing from up here. You all are so beautiful and colorful and radiant. You look like you're thriving. This is what it could actually look like. And this is one of the reasons why we wanted to be here. To be with a vast group of human beings who are actually making it happen. We came here to talk about solutions. And we'll be doing a workshop tomorrow specifically on solutions. But we made Thrive as a trailer for our website, so that then you could use the website as tools to empower self-creating movements all over the world. Not to create some big centralized power organization or something like that, because we have absolute faith in the power and creativity, the compassion of human beings who have enough and who are well informed. So we're particularly thrilled to be in Chichen Itza for this great turning. Now, most of you probably noticed, as we did, that when you got up this morning and looked around, it didn't look all that much different than before December 21st. So if we're waiting for some mass ascension, or waiting for the ETs to do it for us instead of with us, you know, I don't think this is the group that's holding its breath. You know, it's actually up to us, but it actually is happening. You know, if you look at the difference between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock, it doesn't look that much different. But you look, I stand back and look at an entire day, and the dawn and the changing of the light and the evening and night and the dawning of the next day. That's how I look at very much this whole turning that the Mayan calendar is representing. Because if you stand well back and look at this alignment of 4 suns directly from here to the center of the galaxy, never happened before in recorded history. It's a very auspicious moment, and yet here we are. It looks kind of like yesterday. But we've had the opportunity to travel around to over 30 cities just since Thrive came out. And what we're seeing is this fractalized all over the planet. There are so many people waking up. It is not what you read in the corporate media. This is what's going on. People who have known something are getting validated. People who have not been informed are waking up. And people are speaking up, and they're linking up, and they're taking actions. So, and that is what we are all about. Now, I don't want to spend long on this, but I want to just remind us that we are in the context of a collapsing environment. We've got the chemtrails, we've got geoengineering, we've got the pesticides, herbicides. I could go on and on, but you guys know this story. We're also in the midst of a collapsing economy globally. And those of you who've done some homework probably know it's not an accident. That's part of the plan for a global domination takeover. And yet people are waking up. We outnumber the people who are actually perpetrating that by more than 1,000,000 to 1. And we've got love, we've got truth, and we've got the life force on our side. We've been noticing, as we made Thrive, that the more informed people are, the more hopeful they are. We didn't expect that, but we've been finding it in who we've been meeting and interviewing, and we've found it in ourselves, that as we've gotten more informed, even though you end up knowing a lot of bad news, it feels like then you can get your feet on the ground and actually do something about it. And we've got a global police state happening along with all these other problems. And you drive through the checkpoints coming in here and you see the guys coming up and down the street, 4 guys standing there with their machine guns in the back of a truck. This is what we're supposed to get used to. Let's don't get used to this. Let's non-violently turn this around. But what we have found is that all these myriad problems, people who are linked into our network on our website are working on over 120 different problems right now. The good news is they are virtually all human-made. And they're actually made by a pretty small group of the same human beings. So the good news is, as we expose that agenda and who's perpetrating that, those human-made problems can actually be human-corrected in a very short amount of time. So that's what we're about. I want to turn it over to Kimberly, who is the amazing producer, director, co-writer of Thrive, and the most remarkable human being that I've ever met.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I wanted to tell you, can you hear me? Okay. All right. I wanted to tell you the update of what's happened, because on 11/11 we put out Thrive, and for those of you who've seen it, it was really our response to figuring out what it was that was going on. Our intention was to create like the minimum sufficient amount of information that people needed in order to engage in effective solutions. Because a run for cancer is not going to cure this cancer epidemic, but understanding that there are viable alternative modalities that we need to develop and fund and disseminate all over this world will. And so our intention with Thrive was to do this little capsule and have it lead to the website where people could be empowered in their own self-creating movements, as Foster said. And it turns out that without really ever having a marketing, we haven't really marketed the movie yet, but 11 million people have seen it, and it's in 21 languages now since we put it out. And that's if one person saw every DVD that's sold, and I think more than one person have seen it, so it's actually more than that. That's the number we can count. And what's inspiring about that is that that means there are that many people all over this planet who are awake and ready to engage. And so what we've done is to create, we're really all about strategic, organized solutions, because the agenda for global consolidation is a really well-organized plan. And with so many of us caring all over the world, we need to get organized. And we had an opportunity in 2007 to try a whole system solution strategy when there was a $1 billion program coming down. It was earmarked from George Bush Sr. and Homeland Security. I mean, Jr., yeah. It was an aerial assault of toxin spray over 7 million people throughout the Bay Area. And we realized that if people, you know, it's so easy to get overwhelmed by that. But instead, what we did was we had a whole systems model, which is now available at thrivemovement.com, and I'll talk about. But we said, look, some people want to organize to study about what's happening to the animals from this spray. Some want to see what's happening to the human beings who are affected. Foster and I wanted to follow the money and find out who was funded by it. So sector by sector, people took on what they were most passionate about and then did the research and came back and shared the information. And in 6 months and about $30,000, a grassroots movement was able to shut down this $1 billion program using a whole systems response. And that kind of thing is happening and can happen more and needs to happen more. And so what we've done is to create at thrivemovement.com a solutions hub. And the idea is to be a hub, a network of networks, so that these people all over the world, just like you and me out there, caring, concerned about the issues that are both in their community and that are global, can organize, both by zip code you can put in and find out who's working on what in your area, but you can do it by sector, what you're most passionate about, so that you get the feeling. You don't have to take it all on. Nobody has to do it all. You get to do the part that's yours to do, and then share that information. So that as we've traveled to these 30 cities, what we found is, you know, in every city there's someone working on stopping GMOs. There's somebody organizing around chemtrails, but they're not all communicating with each other. And so our offering is that at thrivemovement.com there's a way for the data and the lawsuits and the artwork and the everything related to organizing effectively to create solutions can be shared. It's like the sharing of best practices in solution strategies across all sectors around the world. And in just the 6 months that we've had it up, we've got over 500 groups from over 70 countries have signed up to share information, so that, you know, in Italy, where it's 90% GMO free, now here in America, we can take all that data, download it, and get going in your own community with a head start. So that's what we're here to empower, is these self-creating movements all over that are already happening and just need to be coordinated and connected. So I'm very hopeful and grateful to all of you for all that you're doing, and for coming together in this way, that we're finally getting it, that we don't have to do it all, we have to do our part.
So somebody asked me recently, if you had to boil down your entire life's research into one image, what would it be? And the obvious answer was the torus, T-O-R-U-S. This is not the Ford car. This is not the astrological sign. It's this donut-shaped vortex that scientists have been learning is the single pattern by which the entire universe, as far as we can tell, sustains a healthy system. That's a good thing for us to find out about, given that our evolutionary imperative to actually survive, much less thrive on a healthy planet, is to develop thriving systems. So the torus is the electromagnetic field around our human body. It's the field around a live seed. It's the hydrological cycle. It's the shape of an electron or an atom. It's the field around a cell, around a sun, around a galaxy, around a cluster of galaxies, and now they're saying the universe itself. So as we're up against our own survival, it's nice that the universe is giving us a blueprint everywhere we look, if we know how to see, of how we can do that. So some examples, if we understand this, are particularly things like using a feminine approach to access energy in the universe. It's about time we stop burning things, crushing things, and exploding things to try to get the energy that we need. You know, when these bands are playing, and they're playing in harmony, you can feel something that's way beyond the sum of the parts of what they're doing. And that's the harmonic resonance that every single laboratory that Kimberly and I have had the privilege to visit, who has had working free energy devices, they're all dancing with the toroidal pattern by which energy sustains a healthy system. So that's one example of, the basic word is wholeness. If you look at each of our systems now, at our economic systems, at our environmental systems, our communication systems and so forth, the systems are broken. Their wholeness has been invaded. It's been shattered. You look at GMO foods. They've literally been injected. Their wholeness has been broken. So if we learn about wholeness and then restore that as our fundamental principle, then I think we've got a really good shot, and that's one of the things that gives us hope. So how does that apply to the human level? The Solutions Hub that Kimberly was talking about, where we've got these hundreds of groups and more every day joining and starting to combine their wisdom. The key to all of the solutions in all of the areas, as far as we can tell, is restoring a system to wholeness. And on the human level, I think we have to learn, in order to survive, that the fundamental toroidal unit at the human level is the individual. It's not the group. The group is really important, but it's made up of individuals. The group is an abstraction, though it's an important one. It's made up of real, living, breathing, organic human individuals. So liberty and integrity seem to be the key words for all of the solutions that we're looking at. Not, are you a member of the Republican Party or the Democratic Party? Are you a man? Are you a woman? Do you speak this language or that language? What's your religion? No, it's, do you respect the integrity of another human being completely? Do you treat them honestly? Do you respect your own wholeness? Because if we recognize that, then the state, capital S state as we know it, which we've been indoctrinated since childhood to assume is absolutely necessary for our well-being and security, is seen to be corrupt at its core. If it comes and takes your hard-earned money, whether you like it or not, especially when it goes off and wages wars of aggression and bails out the banksters and, you know, does these no-bid contracts with their crony corporate friends and so forth, how do we really feel about that being done in our name? How do we really feel about the 1 million dead in Iraq with our money? Yeah, right. I'm with you on that. So it brings up the whole question of what's the alternative to the state. And Graham Hancock, who's an amazing ancient cultures researcher, came out with an article recently that expressed it very well and relates to this whole Mayan calendar change. This short cycle that ended yesterday, 5,200 years, and it matches the beginnings and rise of the whole notion of the authoritarian state. And now, as this turning is happening, people are beginning to see through the illusion that anyone should have authority over anyone else, that anyone can violate anyone else except in real self-defense. So for us, that's the core navigating insight for all these solutions. So I'd love for Kimberly to continue on that.
Well, we've, thank you. We're beginning. You know, I think the thing about getting into solutions is to begin with where we are, because as big as we can vision, we still need to start right now with our own integrity and relationship with ourselves and how that manifests out. And so we've begun with a 3-stage solution strategy. And I think about, I mean, really it has to do with beginning, my motto is that the universe responds to passionate intent combined with unconflicted behavior. And it's that unconflicted behavior. The passionate intent is a lot easier to muster than the unconflicted behavior. And so in our stages where we start, stage 1 is just clean up the systems that we have. And an example of that in our personal lives is get your money out of the banks that are funding our demise. So no matter how much you vision another world, if you're funding the world that is causing the destruction, it's not a good match. We need to do that. And while local banks aren't perfect because it's still part of a Federal Reserve system, it makes a big difference because they're funding your local solutions instead of nuclear power and fracking and all of the rest that's causing so much harm. So an example of a stage 1 solution is move your money to a local bank and align your integrity personally, what you vision inside with what you're actually manifesting out. And stage 2 is more actually limiting the authority and having more accountability, because with an honest money system and no wars of aggression, we could cut that military budget and the interest paid on this fake debt, and everybody could have much more money to choose what it is they want to do with it and be much less reliant on a government and thereby shrink it. And in stage 3, we're actually talking about a whole new paradigm of social organization based on a principle of non-violation. And I believe that we can hold that vision as the beacon of where we're going as we begin with step 1, which is our own relationship with ourselves, how we treat each other, and what we do with our money. Because this consolidation of wealth and power happens through a corrupt economic system, and we need to non-violently non-participate, like King and Gandhi taught us, and withdraw our support from those systems. So that's the 3-stage solution strategy. And one of the things I wanted to honor that Bruce brought up and has helped, we're really open to the feedback. Our intention is to be a small group of people who help to empower movements all over the world, not to be a big organization. And so the feedback on how we can do that better really helps. And one of the things that we heard, thank you to Bruce in Nevada City, was that there's a lot of energy to join in this, but having the tool of a solutions hub isn't sufficient. People really needed more guidance in how to do this whole system solutioning and how to solve the problems once you run into them. So we're going to be in 2013, we're going to be launching an online training for how to do the whole system solutioning, and we're going to take on chemtrails as the global issue that we're going to model for doing this. So we will be right there hands-on to do what we did during the moth spray with instead of it being, being sprayed at 1,000 feet, it's 30,000 feet and all over the world. So if we could do it with the moss spray, we can do it with chemtrails, and that's what we're going to be doing. One of the changes for next year is that we're going to be hands-on with the guidance for the Solutions Hub. So thrivemovement.com Solutions Hub is where you can sign up and track what's actually, how we can coordinate our solutions and be strategic in this, and how to get the personal and group support that we need to be effective in turning this around and having more of this happen in our daily lives.
One of the things that we're seeing emerging is that the longing that every one of us I know has and has been working on for individual freedom is beginning to be matched by the activism in the outer world. Not some compulsory thing that you have to do because you're obligated or something like that, but to find your inner calling, as Kimberly was mentioning before. That's what's happening with the Solutions Hub. People are identifying their purpose, the sector that most interests them, the level of engagement that they're drawn to, whether it's meeting immediate needs or working on systemic change or working on the consciousness shift, and then finally which specific issue you actually want to put your daily energy into. And once people do this, what we're finding is they breathe a sigh of relief. They don't have to save the world by themselves. They can actually fulfill their own calling on an ongoing, thriving basis while being in touch with other people and amongst the people just in a small community. In every group that we've met with, every single sector, every level of engagement, and every issue has been addressed by someone for whom that's exactly their passion. And then you can just relax and do your calling in coordination with people who are doing exactly the same thing. That, to me, is beginning to line up with the torus and the vector equilibrium that nature builds reality around. The torus is the basic flow, but the vector equilibrium is the basic structure. Here's one for those of you who don't know.
I'll hold your...
So this is the mother of all geometries. For you women out there, this is your geometry. All of the other geometries flow from this one. So you actually never see this in nature because it's the geometry of the plenum. The infinite field of potential has this structure because all of its vectors, all of its arrows representing its directions of force, all of them are exactly the same. That's why it's called vector equilibrium. But it's particularly relevant to this shift that's going on with the Mayan calendar.
Have you seen the black hole?
Sure. Nassim is a good friend. We worked together for 6 years. So what's been happening in this phase is there's been more and more contraction. And it's come into yesterday, I think that it met maximum contraction. So now it's starting to pulse back out again because all of the crystal structures, all the symmetries of the flowers and so forth are stops along this dance right here, what Bucky called the jitterbug. Because this is what all organisms are doing in their breath. And when you get it going, that's the toroidal motion. That's where the torus, the flow, and the vector equilibrium structure come together. So for me, the turning that happened yesterday was going from maximum contraction, which I think everybody's been observing, to beginning this expansion again into the more feminine energy, into expansive awareness of our identity as both unified and distinct. And that's what leads to the freedom that makes all the rest of it possible. Okay, we've just got a couple of minutes left. We each want to say one thing before we go. First of all, people ask me, well, wow, given what you know, what gives you hope? So I made a short list. Here's especially what gives me hope. Number one is the strength and creativity of the human spirit, and there's no better display of it than right here at Synthesis 2012. The second, as I mentioned, is that we have truth, love, and the life force on our side, and we outnumber the perpetrators by 1,000,000 to 1, and even they are beginning to come around. The third is the principle of non-violation, of non-initiation of force that I mentioned before as the key to this entire turn. The next one is that free energy devices exist. They're becoming more and more prevalent around the planet, and the strategies are coming in by which they can come out in a safe and secure way at last. Next is the 12-sector solutions model that Kimberly was talking about that allows us to align all of our activities, personal and communal, with integrity, with freedom and the natural structure of nature. The next one is that with the internet, we can be informed and we can be organized. And there have been many, many attempts to shut it down, to take it over. They are continuing, but I'm confident for the first time with Anonymous and all the other wonderful groups that are keeping it safe, that we're over that hump. And even if people try to take it back through some false flag operation, we will have ways to stay in communication with each other. And finally, in terms of the global economy, I have been hearing more and more ripples. I can't say a lot about it now, but there are not only alternative currencies coming out, there are alternative sources of wealth, particularly coming out from the East, from the Asian royal families, who actually control more wealth than the Western Illuminati and the central banking system. And they've had enough of the decline and the destruction that's been caused by the central banking system, which borrowed their money from them. So they're calling in those debts and they're kicking them out and coming forward with a whole new level of wealth for humanitarian projects worldwide. We'll keep you posted on that one.
I just wanted to say that we're going to have a showing of Thrive, the movie, tomorrow morning, and then we're going to do a workshop where this whole identifying your own passion of what level of engagement and what sector so that you can take that forward in your own life and work. We're going to be doing that here tomorrow as well. The time, I think it's 10:15. The movie's 10:15, and then we'll do the workshop right after lunch. So we'll see the movie, take a break, and then do Q&A and have a workshop after that. So we look forward to seeing you there, and thank you all for being here and for being who you are.
One more, give it up. Foster and Kimberly Gamble from the movie Thrive. What an honor to have them here. Woo! You can hear the clapping. That shows. I got chicken skin too. What's up with that? All right. You know, we have more magical beings here. Our beloved brother, Jose Arguelles, I felt was something like a Moses of our community. He's like, 2012, 2012, 2012. You have no idea how many times I heard the brother say that. And then all of a sudden, he leaves us before 2012 comes. But we're all here to represent. And a wonderful goddess, sister, friend, who was with him for 26 years working on spreading the good vibes, is here to share with you and download some of the information. Please give it up for Staphanie Sutton-Flanagan. AKA Yellow Crystal Star.
How many of you know your signature, your Mayan galactic signature? Let me see the hands. In Lakesh. And some of you will know this chant. Please do it with me. Ayum Hunabku Eva Maya Emaho. Ayum Hunabku Ema Maya Emaho. Ayum Hunabku Eva Maya Emaho. Today is yellow cosmic star in the dream spell count. The end of the yellow magnetic warrior wave spell. And it's very auspicious that yesterday we gathered on Crystal Hand and today is cosmic star because tomorrow we enter the green central castle of enchantment, court of the matrix, synchronize human. We enter what Jose used to say is the fifth dimension when we enter the green castle. 52 days of practicing being in Camelot, being in a place where We are resonant with a higher frequency. So there are 5 castles: the yellow castle, the red castle, the white castle, and the blue castle. But when we enter the green castle, as we're going to tomorrow, we enter the green central castle of enchantment, court of the matrix being the mother, synchronized human. So just when you might have thought that yesterday was the day, we are just beginning, and it just so happens that December 21st, 22nd, 23rd happens to be going from the end of the warrior way spell into the green central castle of enchantment, court of the matrix, synchronized human. That's tomorrow. And the first day of the green castle is red magnetic moon wave spell. So tomorrow is red magnetic moon. And it's all about the moon, the 28-day cycle of the moon, the feminine cycle. So on top of stepping into that castle, we step into the moon, and we step into our power, and we step into the feminine principle, which we all know is the new frequency, the frequency of 1320. How many of you know 1320 as a frequency? 13 lunation cycles, 20 tribes, 20 fingers and toes. If we take a look at our fingers and toes and pay attention to what they allow us to do above everything else, every other animal, every other creature, that is our power. So the 1260, which we have said goodbye to just one day ago, bye-bye 1260, bye-bye 12 months, because it isn't 12, it's 13 months that the moon goes around the earth. And it's 60 minutes makes an hour, and that's a punch card. That's time is money. That's the slavery that we've all been in. 1260, where our mind is kept in the drudgery of trying to make money, of trying to live in a life that is out of sync with nature itself. So bye-bye 1260. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello 1320.
Hello.
Being in touch with the true cycles of the earth and our solar system and our galaxy. Receiving the power of the sun and the moon and the earth and the movement that goes through us every day if we weren't doing time is money. So our job is to figure out how to do time is art and bring in this new frequency. And I want to give you 2 more things that Jose gave me. 3, I'll be quick. The first one is the understanding of your holon. The holon is you as a soul, as a realized planetary galactic being. That is your holon. The 3 laws that govern activation of your holon, the first one being autonomy. That means you take care of your own things and you do what needs to be done and do not lean on others. The more autonomous you are, the more of value you are. The second one is equality. All kin are equal. Each of us are a kin. We get the same measure, the same count. No one has any more than another. And when we realize that, we will have unity on this planet. We will have oneness. We will have love. We'll have everything when we realize that we're all equal. And the third law, the third law is loyalty. And that is to your higher self. Always. No one else, nothing else. Loyalty to you, your heart, your mind, and your higher self, the higher will that is always speaking to you. We all have the ability to be self-directed, to be autonomous, to be equal, and to be loyal. All we have to do is understand that when we do that, we get our holon. Now, Jose Balumbotan had a poem that he wrote on a napkin for me once. And I never saw it anywhere else. I never saw it published, and it went like this. Moment to moment, it's all in the play. Don't keep a history, or you won't know the way. And that's when we enter the Green Castle tomorrow. Bye-bye history, right? Bye-bye. You guys gonna hang on to the past? No, we're stepping into Camelot. We're stepping into the fourth, fifth dimension when we enter the Green Castle. And it happens to be aligned with this exact date of the end of 26,000 years, 5,125 years, 13,000 years, all cycles within cycles, all completing all at the same time. So if ever there was a time that you might want to give up some history, it would be now. And the last piece that I want you to know that was given to me that I've been living by since Jose gave this to me, and I haven't seen it in print either, are the 5 precepts of the crystal shield. The first one, don't initiate, be initiated. Very powerful. To live by these 5 changes your life completely and totally, and separates you from anything that is short from being close to the truth. You will find that you separate from it because it cuts right through everything. The second precept is don't seek anything. That's a real tough one. So no, do not initiate, be initiated. Don't seek anything. The third law is don't be fool enough to believe other people's projections of you. And that's a big one for all of us because we get very projected upon. The fourth law is don't do anything because you think you'll get something out of it. Oof. That's a tough one, but it feels so good when you practice it. And the fifth is just the best thing ever. Fifth law, everything takes care of itself. Oh, thank you very much.
See, so no matter what happens, you know, when one of us go down, 1,000 come to represent. Are you with me, family? Can I hear an aho? Aho! Yeah. All right, well, it's not a coincidence again that who comes after Staphanie is Patrick Flanagan. The man that at 10 years old invented a neurophone. I even heard that the military came and said, hey, young man, we need to borrow your mind for a minute. He has an incredible mind. He's got so much to share. He's one of the most amazing inventors of our time. So I'll let him share with you of his wisdom and his amazing, amazing mind and heart. Please, a warm welcome for Patrick Flanagan!
Thank you, brother. All right. You know, Staphanie and I are both Cherokee Indians and members of the Cherokee Nation of Indians, and I'd like that we all send love out to the indigenous peoples everywhere for what they have done for us and what we have done for them, and how we're going to make up for it, and that is the most important thing. To heal this planet, I believe, and we're all going to be healed because it's all changing, you know. Yeah, it's all changing. I feel that yesterday was a trigger I felt a trigger yesterday at about noon. It was, you know, no one knew what was going to happen. Was the Earth going to turn into 3 days of darkness? Were we all going to be zapped by galactic pulse and lose all our memories and become like babies and not know who we are? Or, you know, was our entire memory bank going to be wiped clean? A lot of things, and who knows, there's still, you know, many days left in this year. But I feel that yesterday was a galactic trigger that started triggering major changes in our DNA, and that those changes are going on right now. I feel it in my body. I feel it in every possible way, and that this trigger effect, that our DNA is changing, and that that as we move higher into the photon light belt, and as the magnetics of the galactic equator are flipping. In other words, when we're below the equator, the magnetic field of the Earth is north, but when we go above the equator, at a certain point, it's going to invert. It's going to turn upside down. Some people say that we may reverse spin, and the sun will rise in the west and set in the east. Now, when I was just a few weeks old, I was laying in my crib looking at my toes wiggling, and I went, oh my God, I can't believe I have to grow this body up again so I can get some more work done. And it was very real. I remember it so clearly. And then when I was about 2.5, my mother bought me a 2-pound jar of mercury from the Army surplus store. This is right after World War II, right at the end of it. And she bought me a jar of mercury to play with, and I started playing with mercury, and, you know, I swallowed some. It goes through you really fast, by the way. And then I, you know, we rubbed it on pennies to make pennies into dimes. It turns copper pennies into silver-looking pennies. And then and then you could take a sheet of copper and rub it on there, and it would make a mirror. That's how they made mirrors, you know, for large amount of time, since, you know, for maybe 1,000 years, they made mirrors by rubbing mercury on copper. And so what happened is that I was starting to talk when I was 2.5, but I absorbed so much mercury that I became autistic, and so I stopped talking. And when I was 5 years old, I started talking again. And my brother likes to say that I didn't have anything to say. That's why I didn't talk till I was 5. And so we moved down the line, but what it did is it did these weird circuit changes in the brain, because I could have been either a vegetable or 100% totally autistic or dead. And later on, when they ran a hair analysis on me when I was 30, the lab called up and said, is this patient ambulatory? And my friend said, why? And they said, because he has more mercury than any human being ever measured in history, and he should be dead. Now, my friends say I'm very mercurial, and they didn't know how accurate that was. But so anyway, the whole thing is like when I was 12, I invented this guided missile detector that detected when the government fired atomic bombs and shot ICBMs into space and everything. And I put it in the science fair, and I listed all the secret government missile firings and bomb tests and stuff all over the world, and with pinpoint accuracy. And so I got home, and after the science fair, won the science fair, and then I'm in 7th grade in study hall, and the principal comes over and says, well, Patrick Flanagan, come to my office immediately. The Pentagon is on the telephone. And so I knew I was in trouble again. So I went into the to his office, and there was a 5-star general from the Pentagon, and he said, "Son, we want to know how you know all our secrets and all the tests that we've been running." I said, I did it with my little missile detector, and so they sent a team of 15 scientists down from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. They took the missile detector away and told me that if I ever revealed how it works to anyone outside of government, that they'd shoot me, kill me for treason. And of course my father had to sign the paper because I was just a little kid. And but at any rate, it goes on and on. So all my mother said to me when I was a kid is Patrick, try to be normal like other children. And she said, geniuses lead very sad lives, and you don't want to be a genius. And I'm going, I don't even know how to be normal because my brain was rewired, And so, anyway, and we're all like that. Everybody here, your brains are pretty much wired differently than most of the ordinary, people we meet out in the world, I think. In fact, I know. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, right? So this is the new normal here, This is the normal that I want to be like when I grow up. And so at any rate, so we move forward in life, and the thing about me is that when I was a little kid, I was picked up by UFO, and I remember it very clearly. I remember the UFO landing, and me and my little friends were playing around, and then a little door opened on the side of it, and I went toward it. All the kids were saying, "No, no, no," and then my memory goes away. I don't remember anything after that except going to the steps of the UFO and starting to go in. And the reason I'm saying that is that after that, when I was 8, 9 years old, my friends and I, we'd go out and they'd say, "Call a UFO, call a UFO." And so we'd lay down and look up at the sky, and I called him, and they'd come over like that overhead, and then they'd go overhead again, and I'd go, "Please take me home." "Oh, please don't leave me here. Please take me home." So, but the reason I'm saying that is that all these inventions, I have 300 inventions, and they're all unique. Like nobody's ever seen them before. When I applied for my neurophone, there's this neurophone thing. You put electrodes on your brain, and it transmits sound information directly into long-term memory of your brain. And the reason I did that is that when I was 8, I had a dream, a nightmare that occurred over and over and over again, and I'd wake up screaming, and the nightmare just kept coming. And basically the nightmare, I was an adult flying an airplane over the Pacific Ocean, and the airplane engine started stuttering. And so I'm looking around, and there's a little island with a couple palm trees and a great big long stretch of sand. And so I took the airplane, and the engine conked out, and I glided and landed on the sand, and it was right at dusk. And so very, very crystal clear. I mean, this occurred night after night, okay? And so I got out, and I opened up the cowling on the engine to see if there's something wrong with the spark plug, but it was so dark I couldn't see it. I didn't have a flashlight. So I said, okay, I'm going to wait till morning. So I'm sitting on the beach looking at the ocean, and I see a light coming toward me, and the light is super bright, and it's getting closer. I'm going, oh wow, they sent out a search airplane for me, and I'm waving my arms like this, and the light gets closer and closer, and then it turns into a UFO, and they land on the beach. And then a little doorway opens up, and out comes these people who look like us, you know, but they had blonde hair. They were tall, blonde hair, blue eyes, and they walked off and they were carrying a briefcase and a table and a football helmet, what looked like a football helmet, and on the inside of the helmet were these little silver electrodes all over, no wires running from the helmet. They put it on my head, they opened up a laptop computer on the table, and I said, "What are you doing?" They said, "We're measuring your knowledge and your intelligence." And I said, "Why?" And then they became very menacing, and they said, "Because we're using you as an example of standard earthlings, and if you do not match our minimum requirements, we're going to destroy you and all the people on earth." And then they were super menacing then. And then the dream ended, and I'd wake up screaming. I'm only 8 years old. And so, yeah, so that, yay. But the only thing that made my dream go away is if I started reading and learning every single thing I could. And so by the time I was 14, I was reading 14,500 words a minute with 95% comprehension. And I just couldn't get enough because every time I started playing like other kids and went out and did kid things, the dream would come back. And so it just kept it away. And so what a way to make a person study, you know. Wow, you know, you scare your kids into something like that. Wow. That boggles the mind. So anyway, so I'm going along, and so I read a book called Ralph 1 to Foresee 1 Plus by Hugo Gernsback, written in 1911. And it's a science fiction book. And it turns out that Hugo Gernsback was one of the biggest publishers of engineering and scientific books in the world. Gernsback Communications. And so the hero was kind of like a Nikola Tesla guy, and what he did is he had this machine he'd put on his head, and he'd go to sleep, and it would pick up all the news services of the world, and when he woke up, he'd know everything going on in the world, and he'd also be able to put books and things into it, and he'd have all the knowledge. And I said, I really want one of those. And 6 months later, I had one. It was called the Neurophone. And the Neurophone transmits information, I invented it in 1958, transmits information directly into the brain, bypassing normal channels directly into long-term memory. And so I started recording audio books and buying audio books and things, and when I slept at night, they'd play into my head, and I knew everything that was there. The reason sleep learning doesn't work is because sleep learning is we have hearing filters, and if you put a loudspeaker on their pillow and play a book while you're asleep, your hearing cuts it off and it doesn't go in. But the Neurophone transmitted the data directly into the brain, bypassing the filters. And so that was the main thing, you know, that moved me forward. But anyway, we'll go beyond that. I want to share something with you that I've been given by my galactic brothers, because I'm in constant communications with them, or let's say they're in communications with me. But it's called Trust, Love, God, and Sharing. And basically what they said is that we have your back. They're like the overlords, overseers of this galaxy. And they're not God, but they're the overseers. And they said trust that in every moment, no matter what's happening to you, it's exactly what is supposed to be happening to you at that exact moment. Always trust that no matter what it is, I don't care how much you don't like it or how much you like it or whatever, trust that that is exactly what you need for your spiritual development. Right then. Okay, love. They said that love, we need to love everyone and everything and every insect and every tree on this planet the way a mother loves her child. A mother loves her child so much she would give her life for it. She would give everything for it. And that's how much we need to love each other and love everything. Do no harm. If you can, don't kill insects. You know, don't kill anything. Because if you can't make it, don't break it. That's what, you know. And then, so that's the kind of love that we need to develop within ourselves for each other. God, they said that we have no idea what God is. I mean, we have all these concepts. He's certainly not a great big man with big penis in the sky who controls everything, you know. And so we don't know what God is, but we know that the Creator has created all of this, and that He has that love, like the love of a mother, for all of creation, or all of God's creation. Not a he, it's not a she. We don't know what it is. And then the last thing is sharing. The most important part is sharing, because the universe is 100% fully abundant, and so much abundance that we don't have to be greedy, and there is no scarcity. That's been implanted in us and programmed into us by the negative forces and you know, by the current controllers. And so sharing is share everything. There is abundance. You know, in the tropics, there's fruit growing on trees everywhere. You know, we shouldn't have to work. We shouldn't have to do anything but play and make love and enjoy ourselves. And so sharing is like the most important thing. And so, you know, in my life, I've learned that I just give and share no matter what I have, and it always comes back to me multiplied. It's just the way it is. So those are the 4 things. TLGS. You could have a t-shirt. TLGS. Trust, love, God, and sharing. And that is exactly where we're heading in the golden age, which is to come. The golden age is upon us, and the old stuff's going away, and we're all gonna, and lions, of course, there will be no predators, human or animal or other predators, for 1,000 years. And so that's where we're heading. This is the beginning of it, and thank God, what a grace that we're all alive to experience it at this time. And you know, who knows what's happening, but we're all here for the ride. Thank you very much for all of this. Okay, namaste. Okay.
Come on, give it up one more time. Patrick Flanagan. Wow.
Come and take me home. Come and take with us so white buffalo roam on the West Coast. Chichen Itza, how you feeling?
Yes, yes. We are live right now.
If you're ready for change in the new world on day 1, let me hear you say, hey! If you're ready to make a change in your life right now, say, hey! It's a movement. 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 Yo! We move with the light. That's the way I operate. If you feel the love, let me hear you say, hey! If you stand for change, let me hear you say, hey! We are the light now. No, we don't play. Hey, I move with light. That's the way I operate. If you feel the love, let me hear you say, hey! If you stand for change, let me hear you say, hey! We are the light now. Forever, don't play. In the case of fire out of a spark, you forgot fighting the devil came alive the dark, and everything after was known as existence. The power of truth is the fuel of resistance. Sometimes you gotta learn to live like an Indian. Sometimes you gotta fight like a Palestinian. Sometimes you gotta let the violence cease. Put your hands up in the air for peace. Best day alive, man, best day ever. Blessed with the spirit like I just found a treasure. I don't pull levers, I just push buttons. I'm the distant muppets when you pull them out the oven, man, your boy's on fire. Man, I'm flying in the sky in my brand new Merkaba. Open line water, positive point of view. Aligning as one mind, running at all times, aligning in spirit. You know about patronize. That's the way I operate. If you feel the love, let me hear you say. Hey. If you stand for change, let me hear you say. Hey. We are the light now. No, we don't play. Hey, I move like that's the way I operate. If you feel the love, let me hear you say. If you stand for change, let me hear you say. Hey. We are the light now, boy, we don't play. FREE, artist of purely positive energy. Productivity, purposely passionate with every beat. I'm shopping like night on my Jedi night on every melody. Hoping to grab your consciousness, don't let me do this liberally. So carefully, I stay right up and for whatever's there for me. I'm here bringing them, see for healing, showing the world what you seldom see. I am free, moving with my life, cause that's my destiny. Every time I grab my microphone, I give the best of me. I move with the light, I'm down with the blue. And I was called one, we don't ever lose. Never. Positive flow, luminous crew. Elevate the body, temple, lead your raw food. We come from the same line, I'm KRS. To live, quality, the roots. And most deaf, showing homage and love for those who came before me. We the hip-hop Beatles, match for Bob Marley. We the people united are unstoppable. Unstoppable. We know another world is possible. We know oppression is a probable obstacle. We can topple if we make our voices audible. Rise up. And all the problems are solvable. Silence is betrayal, sometimes you gotta shout at fools. Sometimes the silence is golden. To clear this broken ears and hear the heart you hold it. We move with the light, that's the way I operate. If you feel the love, let me hear you say. Hey. If you stand for change, let me hear you say. We are the light now, no, we don't play. Hey, I move with like that's the way I operate. If you feel the love, let me hear you say. If you stand for change, let me hear you say. We are the light now, boy, we don't play. B-boys, we don't play. B-boys, we don't play. B-girls, we gon' play. B-girls, we gon' play. We got to make change. We got to make change. So let your soul play. Let your soul play. Hey. Let your soul play. Hey. Let your soul play. Hey. Let your soul play. Let your soul play. Let your soul play. With the light. That's the way I operate. If you feel the love, let me hear you say. Hey. If you stand for change, let me hear you say. We are the light now. No, we don't play. Hey, I move like that's the way I operate. If you feel the love, let me hear you say. If you stand for change, let me hear you say. Hey. We are the light now, boy, we don't play. Yeah. Who's having the best time in their lives? Make some noise. Everybody put their hands up in the sky right now, y'all. Come on, put them up. And everybody go side to side, side to side, side to side. Put your hands in the sky, go side to side, side to side. Put your hands up, put your hands up. There's your time to speak and there's your time to cry. There are moments when you fill up with laughter inside. Live life to the fullest, hold on for the ride. And realize every one of us is on the fly. Know we arose from the earth, baptized in the rain. Found love in the fire, the wind spoke our names. Find hope in the heavens and all the wondrous stars. Shouldn't look no further, you know who you are. You are God. Of all human beings, be the light, the change, the fight, the struggle, the solution. We're the final piece of the grand puzzle. Gotta get it together, make it to infinite levels. We didn't go to the limit, pay for the road of forever. We can make it through the storm. Hold tight, be strong. Free to fight a race of lighters, luminaries, keep it going. I am love, commitment, heart, forgiveness, strength, and fitness. Light, no limits. We are the children of light, bright white light, creative and gifted. Show the world what you made of. I am love, commitment, heart, forgiveness, strength, and fitness. Light, no limits. We are the children of light, bright white light, creative and gifted. Show the world what you're made of. Revolutionaries all around the world unite, cause we the luminaries and we came to shine the light and bring the pain, the love, breathe life into the dead. Warrior spiritual, looking for a brighter day, step ahead. But right now's the best time to let them know what you got inside your mind, heart, body, and soul. The world whole ain't your enemy, your biggest foe. It's what you wanna make a break. Struggle, gotta let it go. And let it flow and let it grow and open up the door. Closed mouths don't get fed. The food they're looking for. I'll cook it more to make a little more. You can have anything in this world. It's yours. Your life, your right, your choice, your voice to speak. Your plight, your light, your path, and your destiny. Yeah. Two seat and two piece. So when the message and the music and the movement got you moving, say love, commitment, heart, forgiveness, strength, and fitness. Light, no limits. We are the children of light. Light, light, light. Creative and gifted. Show the world what you made. I am love, commitment, heart, forgiveness, strength, and fitness. Light, no limits. Yes, we are the children of light. You're a bright light. Creative and gifted. Show the world what you're made of. Live and direct, I show the light that you reflect. Let the world see every picture of love you reject. My quest is to come from my heart and give my best. Keep it conscious and fly the humble valley, keep it fresh. When I'm riding these beats, I'm rhyming for peace. If you're feeling Luminaries. And we can do it all together like it's supposed to be done. Cause everything is everything and everything is one. It's the luminous movement. Change has come. We not gonna make it rain. I'ma give the game sun. So you can see the light. Sharing the insight. Motivated communicator like to train and motivate. Lyrics that touch your soul every time around my mic. I just gave you 16, but the hook is my line. Love, commitment, hard, forgiveness, strength, and fitness. Life, no limits. We are the children of light. Fuel bright light. And we can't show the world what you're made of. Commitment, hard, forgiveness, strength, and fitness. Life, no limits. We are the children of light. Fuel bright light. And we can't show the world what you're made of. Jump, 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 show the world, world. Show the world what you're made of. Jump, show the world what you're made of. Jump, show the world what you're made of. Jump, show the world. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you. That was fun, huh? Y'all having fun out there? That's right. That's all we want to do is have some fun. We got some brand new Luminaries music. New album coming out next year. Exclusive! Chichen Itza, how you feeling out there? Everybody gotta stay crunk. Everybody gotta jump up. Everybody put their ones up. Everybody raise their sons up. Till the sun's up. Everybody gotta raise up. All the freaks in the raise up. Everybody in the shake up. All in, put your stake up. One life, don't make up. All the girls on the dance floor. All the heads in the man floor. All the sun from the first core. All the drums from the first core. All the mamas giving birth more. Real girl when they want more. For the smoke that I heard more. Fighting in the pit sword. We can end war. We can end war. We can end war. What about if you want more? Put your hands up. Everybody gonna stay crunk. Everybody put your hands up. Everybody gonna have fun. Everybody gonna stay crunk. Everybody put your hands up. Everybody put your ones up. Everybody put your L's up. Everybody put your L's up. Organic lifestyle, real life flow. My team keep it green, this is Luffy and Pro. Got real music from the real people. Grab a piece of the sky and don't let go. We move on the line, feel the bass vibrate. Moving in pools of love, we co-create. Shake that ass as we motivate. Luminaries always rocking from the golden place. Walking, tasting forever, that true minutes when it takes it. Crunk, no bring juice. Bring crunk, all bigger when I let loose. This love is like a contagion, meant to affect you. These verbal remedies are healing energies. Charge your life forth to this new age. Ministry, we are the answer. Life is the mystery. Hands in the sky if you are free. Everybody gonna have fun. Everybody gonna stay crunk. Everybody put your hands up. Everybody gonna raise up. All the freaks and the praise up. Everybody put your hands up. Everybody gonna have fun. Everybody gotta jump up. Everybody put your hands up. Everybody gonna have fun. Everybody gonna stay crunk. Everybody put your hands up. Forward on the floor, we rock it till dawn. 4 in the morning, we don't need no alarm. Sunrise to the rise coming real soon. I can see the sun coming to replace the moon. Cause the eyes wide, like the young strong. Spirit world, plan medicine, it's all cool. Cause we learn to dance and it's understood. We connect with the earth like the backwoods. I don't really smoke too much. I got my pine you wine like I know too much. You know 12 on 12 by 20 rows. Chakras, DNA strands, here we go. Beyond 2012, we can see the light. Baby girl, you and I make it love tonight. Under the stars we dance, joy and touch. Wake up to the best, feel the rush. Everybody gonna have fun. Everybody gonna stay crunk. Everybody put your L's up. Everybody gonna stay crunk. Everybody gotta jump up. Everybody put your L's up. Everybody gotta raise up. All the freaks and the praise up. Everybody put your L's up. Everybody gonna have fun. Everybody gonna stay crunk. Everybody put your L's up. Feel the love. Feel the love. Feel the love. Feel the love. Say feel the love. Feel the love. Feel the love. Feel the love. Just feel the love. Feel the love. Feel the love. Feel the love. Just feel the love. Feel the love. Feel the love. Chichen Itza, make some noise. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We are love and love. We are love and nothing else but love. If you are love, let me say love. Everybody gonna have fun. Everybody gonna stay crunk. Everybody put your L's up. Everybody gonna raise up. Everybody gotta jump up. Everybody put your L's up. Everybody put your ones up. Everybody raise your sons up. Everybody put your L's up. Everybody gonna have fun. Everybody gonna stay crunk. Everybody put your L's up. Everybody gonna have fun. Everybody gonna stay crunk. Everybody put your L's up. Everybody gonna have fun. Everybody gonna jump up. Everybody put your L's up. Everybody gonna raise up. All the freaks and the praise up. Everybody put your L's up. Everybody gonna have fun. Everybody put your L's up. Everybody put your L's up. Woo! Everybody put your L's up. If you feel the power of love. the love, feel the love, feel the love, feel the love, just feel the love, feel the love, feel the love, feel the love, just feel the love. Do you feel the love? Can all my beautiful, divine, amazing goddess queens in this lawn right now make some noise for yourselves? Can all the beautiful men, the strong warrior, light being warriors, make some noise for those goddesses right now, please? This goes out to y'all. How many of y'all like kombucha? Make some noise. All my raw vegan foodies, the girls are here saying kombucha. It's for y'all. Yo, ignore the lines. Handle the bounce slip of 20. Who developed their own business opposite of empty. Post up in the bitches, see the girl eye to eye. Shoulder to shoulder. Try to get right. Yo, immerse this night movement. So plush in the cut, eyes wide as the head of the ball. LA, the city of stars. Matter of fact, constellations and vibration. Put your hands up. Smoke machine, laser lights to light. Pop collars and booyah. Toast tonight. Here to have a good time. Forget frustration. Vibe in the night. It's a cool sensation. Don't drink beer and don't drink wine. But I kick it with the ladies and I have a good time. We post at the bar, get drunk on kombucha. Drunk on kombucha, drunk on kombucha. Yeah, some drink beer and some drink wine. But I kick it with the ladies and I have a good time. We up in Mexico, get drunk on kombucha. Drunk on kombucha, drunk on kombucha. Celebrate life, looking for the lights, looking for the stars, looking for advice. I can tell you something if you want to hear it twice. Yo, come a little closer. Dance all night, yo, move with the rhythm, move with the spirit. Twirl like a dervish, surrender to the feeling. I want to see you move like you make it let it go. That's what it's on. On an iPod, yo, bounce to the beat, baby girl, you can lead. Open your soul, Kundalini. Harness your chi, take a breath real deep. Down to the root, to the ground, to the feet. Man, shot, we're spinning. Love life, we win it. Drunk on kombucha, that's how we live it. Can't stop living, life is no limit. Choose to say yes, you can get with it. Don't drink beer and don't drink wine. But I'll kick it with the ladies and I have a good time. We post at the bar, get drunk on kombucha. Drunk on kombucha, drunk on kombucha. Some drink beer and some drink wine. But I'll kick it with the ladies and I have a good time. We up in Mexico, get drunk on kombucha. Drunk on kombucha, drunk on kombucha. So what you sipping on? Kombucha. So what you tripping on? I'm in the mood now. So where the party at? Right here, right now. We're bringing it back, that real old school rap. We alive in the moment, that's a matter of fact. Feel a vibe, you can hold it, have a swagger attack. It's the luminous movement, raw facts, next up to back. Who's that? It's them conscious cats. Don't stop and track to keep the whole crowd lifted. On the dance floor of that natural mystic. Universal rhymes, unlimited gifted. Get your heart wide open, let your soul listen. Start right over, feel the pole shift. I'm Busto Booyah, went on the love mission. Baby girl in the corner says she wanna taste bliss in the back of the mothership. King ignition, fly. Go ahead and shake your ass. Party all night, tomorrow won't feel trash. She sipping some straws, still give you a pass. And if you want a place to be, let me see those hands. Hey, don't drink beer and don't drink wine. But I kick it with the ladies and I have a good time. We post at the bar, get drunk on kombucha. I'm drunk on kombucha, drunk on kombucha. Some drink beer and some drink wine. But I kick it with the ladies and I have a good time. We up in Mexico, get drunk on kombucha. Drunk on kombucha, drunk on. Everybody say, go goddess, go goddess, go. Go goddess, go goddess, go. Go goddess, go goddess, go. Go goddess, go. Everybody say, go goddess, go goddess, go. 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 Go, 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 go. Drunk on kombucha, drunk on kombucha. Go, 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 go. Drunk on kombucha, drunk on kombucha. I don't know if the lady in the back with the kids that was jumping in the pool earlier is still here. She got some bomb booyah. I'm serious, man. She got some good kombucha, extra fermented. Everybody say boo, yeah. Say boo, yeah. Boo. That's Luminary slang for kombucha if you ain't like ascended yet, you know. That's Venice Beach slang, you dig? Can we give it up one time for the doctor, please? Hey, hey, hey. How many ascended masters we have in the house, or at least masters in training? Put your hands up, yo. Yo, I accept the life that I've left. I can't breathe backwards, new breath and forward steps beyond the flesh. It ain't no separation of God itself. I'm using my brain matter to see all amongst the shroud. A higher vision descended from my eternal master. And I see right now as a masterpiece in this moment in time that I'm proud to be. I'm a student of self-mastery, cause every day is a new masterpiece. I have felt beholding the fight with than the soldier. If we share this common frequency, it's proof we're getting closer. Now my game did your perception. I'ma lead your thoughts in the right direction. I can be that light, now feel the reflection. Three things within my section. Love and life is our profession. No assumptions, questions. I can't reach them out, but I'm laying rhymes to keep it moving down the line. I won't block the shine, I'm trying to forward mine. Give thanks, I'm grateful for my time. Time. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their legs. Just a bunch of gibberish, cause I am my own master. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their legs. Just a bunch of gibberish, cause I am my own master. Choices, options, swapping, stopping, same ways of living, bit in prison, break decision, make, bending bars, empty space, inner, outer, otherworldly, hearing voices being godly, try to stop me, be like trying to break the laws of gravity, being changed like Gandhi, loved one like Rumi. If you wanna hear a master in training, then listen to me. Everybody always talking, nobody feeling moment. Gotta keep your ear to the ground. The fine-tuning of the earth's unified vibrational frequency, in tune with the music of the seas and the motion of the sea. Corruption, great shift, planets alive, common strip, supernova, water rubber, and a parallel existence, entering the core of the universe. Verse, brought me to the oneness of the 0-point field. Reality is what you make it. Life's a risk, I gotta take it. I am my own master, blasted towards my mastery. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. Just a bunch of gibberish, cause I am my own master. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. Just a bunch of gibberish, cause I am my own master. Reprogram that mental mind, relocate that God side. Easy to say, but hard to find. Not really, you're doing fine. Hold my hand, I'll take you there. Touch your heart if you're aware. We are from a distant solar system, we're around here. When you get loud in the midst of the thoughts, just close your eyes and take a breath. Jump off the moon with a silver spoon with a t-shirt, that's it. Watch your step. Don't you know me, I'm Mr. Fresh. Too damn cool for my rep. But yo, pick a card, any card. It's all good, I'll ring the check. With for pleasure, with for pain. You just wanna get the fame. Close my eyes and say my mantra, but it's hard to beat the shame. So I snatch your Jesus shame. Jesus never wanna change. These are just some people fools who told to use your name in vain. Blue crew, brand new. Needing some the blues. Talking about the strange fruit. Yo, people hanging by the news. Yo, don't be fooled by the news. Conversation inside the suits. I'm the master of my truth, and I'm here to help the youth. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their legs. Just a bunch of gibberish, cause I am my own master. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their legs. Just a bunch of gibberish, cause I am my own master. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. Just a bunch of gibberish, cause I am my own master. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. Just a bunch of gibberish, cause I am my own master. What up, masters in training? Yeah. We good out there? We good? Everybody's good? As good as we can get right now, at least? That's right. How many infinite beings do I have in the crowd? I want to hear you scream. When I say one, you say love. One. When I say global, you say alignment. Global. When I say galactic, you say alignment. Galactic. When I say Chichen, you'll say Itza. Chichen. Everybody scream right now as loud as you can. Living in the infinite, then is the beginning is the finish as the world keeps spinning. Living in the infinite, the end is the beginning is the finish as the world keeps spinning. Living in the infinite, the end is the beginning is the finish as the world keeps spinning. We living in the infinite, the end is the beginning is the finish as the world keeps spinning. In a planetary eternity, the never-ending story that continues on perpetually. It's a space odyssey, oddity, audible, infinite journey to the center of all that ever will be. Of eternity ethereal, full of stardust, cars rust, bodies combust, and turn together. Ash the flash that light speed, like me, fueled by the kite, the king. Cause Frankie Ben started it, and Einstein elaborated it. Tesla had the idea, the beast proliferated no, I never wait. I practice patience. I meditate while kicking it in lotus. Open up your third eye, regain your focus. Third eye phone, no need for video. I can see the picture more clearly than video. Fibonacci staircase, I'm rocking. Flow is avatar, I stick rhymes and now they rock. But I ain't packing no pistol. Yeah, I brush my teeth with Luminaries crystals. Living in the infinite, the pattern is simple. The 8 is sideways. Like the DNA symbol. Yeah, my numerology is telesite. Sacred geometry is so within the stars at night. It's like the passage in the Bible that reports the light. Grab us us right now, we have eternal life. See, my spirit is infinite, simply gifted, sent from the natural mystic. Got some lyrics to infiltrate your mind. Feel the passion with every single punchline. Man, it's crunch time. Revolution in motion, the truth we will find. I rip the mic with real rhyme. Stay in the moment, you could never lose. I keep it in motion while the soul's on your shoes. This world is finna do. Man, get a clue. And what you finna do? Actions make miracles. So if you really wanna feel the bliss, allow the love to be continuous. And when it gets strenuous, just remember this. You are in motion with love, peace, and happiness. So let it all hang out. Show the world what you about. We're living in the infinite is now. Living in the infinite, the end is the beginning is the finish as the world keeps spinning. Living in the infinite, the end is the beginning is the finish as the world keeps spinning. Living in the infinite, the end is the beginning is the finish as the world keeps spinning. Living in the infinite, the end is the beginning is the finish as the world keeps spinning. It's December 22nd, 2012, and the world is still spinning.
Still spinning. We still here, yo. Hey, on the real deal, shout out to all the people who showed up yesterday at the Pueblo. For real. And I experienced it. It was a beautiful thing. It's always wonderful to appreciate someone's culture and to be there. Y'all was very respectful. I was checking out for that. We were all very respectful. That was good. Yeah. Straight up. So shout out to all y'all. Shout out to the Mayan people and the people of this community for having us and allowing us to actually help their community and spend some money. Keep spending your money on these people. Straight up. No sugarcoat. These people need our money. They need our help. So let's help these people out, y'all. Keep buying stuff for your family. It's Christmas time. Support the local vendors. Support them. I'm done talking. I want to rap.
All my beautiful light workers, put your hands up right now. Despite all the challenges this festival created, from all of us, the people, the guests, those putting it together, the artists, 82 minutes. Remember that our spiritual practice always comes into play in the face of a challenge. It's easy to be grateful when things are going well and amazing and your rent's all good. But in the face of your challenge, who are you being? How much compassion can we raise? Forgiveness, our love. Keep those hands up in the sky, real high. Everybody, both hands up. Everybody put those hands together right now, real loud. Come on, clap. For your families, for your loved ones, for all your children. This song's called Be the Change. Inspired by the words of Mahatma Gandhi, the great soul, who lived for peace, love, and nonviolence. Are you ready to be the change? Freedom's coming, I feel the vibe that's deep inside us. Everybody wants change, but tell me who will guide us. To the leaders that pass away, put up your lighters. It's a beautiful struggle, but it cannot divide us. We're the ones that we've always been waiting for. See yourself in the mirror and open up the door. Walk through it, feel the love throughout your pores. Be the light, life's purpose is to feel joy. Metaphysical, lyrical, saying the truth. The only one to make change is walking in your shoes. Be the example and don't complain about the news. Make your music and serve the world with the loom. Now you can be the same, or you can be the change. Mind straight from inside, break from the chains. No one to blame, but nothing to prove. You create your reality. It's up to you to be the change that you want to see in the world. Like Gandhi, live for peace, aspire to be someone who fights for the release. Like Martin Luther King, aspire to be that love, that life, like Christ. Live life through the moment in tea. And if you believe in Jehovah, Buddha, give love to me. My soul yearns for peace in a world that's flooded with war. History's littered with bodies scarred, trying to settle this score. To maintain an arcane platform of power and greed. People fighting for land out of survival and need. So I'm killing my television and I'm planting the seed to fill my head with knowledge that I'm seeing receive due to the media propaganda killing my creed. No one don't kill me, make me strong. I feel the strength when I bleed. Fight for interest before it's a catastrophe. They try to sell you anything in this world that for free. Land, air, fire, and water. They keep up in the ante while the anti-proletarians hold the powers to be. But we keep fighting, surviving, and thriving, recycling and rhyming. We constantly grinding. We see through the lying and prying. They tell us they keep trying to keep you from asking the why. You change that you want to see in the world. Like Gandhi, live for peace. Aspire to be someone who fights for the beliefs. Like Martin Luther King. Aspire to be that love, that life like Christ. Live life for this moment indeed. And if you believe Jehovah, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, love to be free.
We find solutions, different possibilities, creating organizations like Aspire to be, inspiring young minds to see, building life skills, nurturing creativity, fulfilling the youth's basic needs, listening actively, teaching the tools to succeed, positive role models, plant the seeds, the roots drink the water which feed the tree. Someone help me, giving back is my responsibility.
Be the change that you want to see in the world. Like Gandhi,
Live for peace, aspire to be
someone who fights for the beliefs. Like Martin Luther King.
aspire to be
That love,
that life
like Christ.
Live life
for the moment indeed. And if you believe Jehovah,
Allah,
Buddha,
Krishna,
it's love to me. Yeah. When I say una, you say cool. Una, una. When I say una, you say cool. Una, una. When I say one, y'all say love. One. When I say one, y'all say light. One. Be the change you want to see in the world.
aspire to be
Be the change you want to see in the world.
aspire to be
Be the change you want to see in the world.
aspire to be aspire to be aspire to be
Be the change you want to see in the world.
aspire to be
Be the change you want to see in the world.
aspire to be
Be the change you want to see in the world.
aspire to be aspire to be aspire to be like Gandhi, live for peace, aspire be the change you want to see in the world.
We got one more song. Y'all want to hear one more song? One last song. Hey, be the change you want to see in the world, like that person who's standing right next to you right now. Look around and look them in the eye. That's them. In Lakesh, y'all. How many people came here expecting something big? And how many people found it right here? How many people believe the spirit of this shift is peace around the world and throughout the universe? Put two fingers in the air right now. For peace in your home, peace in your heart. For peace in Chichen Itza, all in Mexico, all throughout the universe, y'all. Peace, shalom, salam, rewa, omateo.
Worldwide, yo, P is for the people, E is for the essence, A is for the answers that I get from God's questions, C is for the conscience, E is for the earth, so everybody gotta stand up and find their worth. A war of violence would often call the disease and violence, gotta get through the shame and the silence so we can be united. Only the righteous will overcome and become enlightened. Living your life, loving yourself, so there's a light in. One love, one blood, and one heart. One people, one world, and one God. We gotta come together, united for one cause. Put your hands up in the air for peace. What's up, y'all? One love, one blood, and one heart. One people, one world, and one God. We gotta come together, united for one cause. Put your hands up in the air for everybody peace. Say peace worldwide starts from inside. We gotta find a better way that we can be. Peace worldwide starts from inside. Go ahead and let your mind, body, soul be free. Peace worldwide starts from inside. The answer is solution always starts with me. Peace worldwide starts from inside. If you wanna save the world, be the change you wanna see. I got a piece of mind, I got a piece of paper. I'm about to make a piece of rhyme. The world of savior occupied the planet in 2011. It's 2012 infinity. 777. I know we'll make it to heaven on earth to see our branch and come back resurrected. Oh, Malia the legends. One love, and me and my people are all connected. For world peace, we gotta have a common collective. All taught us the lessons of how we should be respected. And God is really embodied the non-violent perspective. Global community unity, maybe you and me can sit down. Build up on love, cause that's what we need. Let's get the farming and feeding the people starving across the whole planet. What's going on is a sustainable living. We don't need the provision, we can grow
it, pick it and eat it.
That's the world I envision.
I wanna make this spread peace all around the world like Chase. Paint a face, make a beautiful mural. Africa needs peace. Europe and South America, Asia, and Australia. You don't believe in miracles? Cause it can happen if everybody would tap into all the love in the hearts and everyone started laughing. Time for action. No time to complain. It takes 7 billion willing people to change.
Now imagine if the words of John Lennon would come alive
And everybody in the world started to unite.
Realize
It ain't far-fetched.
we can do it.
Come together for a cause.
Do it with the music.
Use it.
Take time.
And pursue it.
Dreams and aspirations.
Are all up to you. Cause everybody in the world wanna get free. And everybody in the world wants peace. One love, one blood, and one heart. One people, one world, and one God. We gotta come together, united for one cause. Put your hands up in the air for peace. Put them up. One love, one blood, and one heart. One people, one world, and one God. We gotta come together, united for one cause. Put your hands up in the air for peace.
Everybody say peace worldwide starts from inside. We gotta find a better way that we can be.
Peace worldwide starts from inside.
Go ahead and let your mind, body, soul be free.
Peace worldwide starts from inside.
The answer and solution always starts with we.
Peace worldwide starts from inside.
If you want to serve the world, be the change you want to see.
One love, one blood, and one heart. One people, one world, and one God. We gotta come together, united for one cause.
Put your hands up in the air for
Everybody,
peace.
come on.
One love, one blood, and one heart. One people, one world, and one God. We gotta come together, united for one cause.
Put your hands up in the air. Come together.
Right now, jump, 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 jump. Everybody go, 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 go. Chichen Itza, Yucatan Peninsula, how you feeling? On the count of 3, across the universe. 1, 2, 3, kick it. Peace worldwide starts from inside. 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 Put your hands up in the air for peace.
Everybody sing it one time with it together as one, unified. Peace worldwide starts from inside. Come on.
Peace worldwide starts from inside. 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 Peace worldwide starts from inside.
One more time, come on. Peace worldwide starts from inside. Peace worldwide starts from inside. Peace worldwide starts from inside.
Put your hands up in the air for peace.